So here's an interesting topic to think about with yourself. So let's say we have two individuals, right? This is like, think of like the classic story of like the grumpy old dad and the son who was a true prodigy, who was going to attain great things in life. Think of these two individuals in this ideal scenario. We see this in like movies and like different famous books and stuff like that, where there's the prodigy son who becomes something incredible because he believes in himself, and then there's the grouchy old dad who is completely careless and treats the son like he's just trash. So here's two examples. So the grouchy old man continuously attacks the son and pushes him down and makes him feel worthless in life. But the son continuously believes in himself and looks past all of the negativity that the grouchy old man puts on him, and he desires greatness for himself, and he knows that so much is capable for him. Okay? The reality is that as us as human beings, as self-manifesting human beings, the grouchy old man, by creating so much negativity and putting it on the young man, the grouchy old man ultimately creates a world of negativity for himself, and that becomes his life, and that becomes what he manifests in life. But the young man, because he believes in himself and he looks beyond the negativity and he knows of how much he is capable of, he continues to strive for greatness, and ultimately his life becomes full of greatness and joy and hope, and he ultimately attains greatness for himself, and he attains a life full of joy, hope, and satisfaction, knowing that he has accomplished what he has set out to do. And so this is essentially the quantum mystery of human existence, is that we as human beings manifest our own reality. And so what you create, you also attract. And I just talked about this in the last video I just uploaded. But what you create, you ultimately attract by how you exist as an individual. And so the grouchy old man, he thinks that the young man will never be anything. But the actual paradox is, because he believes so strongly and throws so much negativity at the young man, the paradox is that he ends up becoming nothing, and his life becomes full of negativity. But the young man is the opposite. You see, the young man, because he continuously strives for greatness, and he only seeks greatness, not only does he free himself from the negativity of the old man, but he ultimately attracts an abundance of greatness to himself, and he compounds the greatness. He compounds the amount of joy in his life because of who he is as a human being. He continuously manifests greatness for himself, and it compounds for him. And so it's vice versa with the old man. The old man continues to compound negativity and valuelessness to himself because of how he decides to be. And so this is essentially what every single one of us needs to essentially do in life, is we need to be completely aware of what we are creating in our everyday life, because how you choose to be as an individual becomes what you create for your reality. And so this is like a kind of new age thing that people like to talk about, that you should be the creator of your own reality, not in some sort of magical or sense, or like you're God or something, but essentially like you create what you are because you manifest what you decide to be, essentially. So now going into the concept of, natural forms of medicine, particularly Ayurveda, since I myself am an Ayurvedic practitioner. This understanding of quantum self-manifestation of our own reality based on how we think, act, and what we decide to be also affects human health as well. So think of that. There's this one really popular experiment done. I don't know the name of it or who conducted it or when it was conducted, but it was essentially an experiment done where there was two identical plants that were planted at the same exact time with the same exact weather, almost right next to each other, and that were given the same amount of good quality soil, nutrients, water, etc. Everything was the same for these plants, except the people that took care of them, one of them spoke only negativity to the plant, like only speaking negative things to the plant as if they were speaking to, another human being. And then the other person spoke only positive affirmations to the plant, and only feelings of love and joy, hope and peace, and as if they were talking to another human being. And so what ended up happening was the person who spoke negativity to the plant, that plant died and withered away, but the plant that received an abundance of love and positivity, that plant grew and became absolutely flourished, essentially. And so this is an experiment that was done. You can probably look it up. I don't know the name of it, but it essentially goes into the quantum reality of existence itself, and it goes into essentially what is understood nowadays in the New Age culture as energy medicine. And so we can actually heal ourselves with our own thoughts, beliefs, words, and intentions. And so this also applies into this. Well, it doesn't apply. It was understood by ancient forms of natural healing, particularly traditional Chinese medicine, but also it's very prevalent in Ayurvedic medicine. And so, especially in Ayurveda, there in ancient Hindu culture, there is a great level of devotion to Lord Dhanvantri, who is the Hindu god of Ayurvedic medicine. And so by the worship of this Hindu god, they create an abundance of life-healing energy that generates within their own psychoenergetic bodies, because they devote themselves to this deity as a form of love and worship. And so the deity itself isn't necessarily like a real thing, I mean, the mythology of ancient India isn't essentially like intended to be taken literally, but the deity itself represents an aspect of reality that one can self-manifest into themselves. And so by worshiping Lord Dhanvantri, the Hindus generate this energy of healing within themselves. And this is essentially the point of all Hindu gods and Hindu worship, is essentially to unite oneself with the ultimate reality, which is Brahman, the undifferentiated consciousness that's beyond all form and existence itself. And so, especially in Ayurvedic medicine, this idea of self-healing is essentially the main theme of the whole entire the whole entire system of healing. The entire system of healing begins with the self, begins with the conscious perception of reality, and healing oneself through awareness and conscious intent. Whereas, in modern medicine, it's just, it's like a Band-Aid solution. We just apply drugs to different symptoms and try to essentially mask diseases that are manifesting from people's bodies without actually curing people's maladies from the root, essentially. This is essentially one major theme that I'm going to play upon throughout my whole entire channel, is that we as human beings need to essentially become completely aware of our own selves and choose to manifest a reality that for us is in alignment with our highest potential and our highest self. And this is really, like I spoke about in my last 2 videos, this is the point of human life. It's to attain union with the higher self. It's to attain union with God and live in full alignment with one's own mission and purpose in life. This is the point of human life, and this is what brings healing, health, and well-being to every single human being. This is what gives people the ability to make the right decisions with their diet and their lifestyle. So now let's transition into more of how do you find your life purpose? Because this is a question that most people ask themselves their entire lives. There's so many people that always feel lost in life and they can't seem to find a sense of purpose and meaning. And for so many people, finding that life purpose is like one of the ultimate things that brings them true fulfillment in life. So there's so many people seeking this because it's an innate human desire to seek a higher goal than service of one's own self. And so many people spend their entire lives seeking a life purpose. And so, what I've personally found for myself is that seeking a life purpose is not really the ideal thing to do, but instead, it's better to be, because in reality, the purpose is already within your life. You don't have to seek it out. It's already there. You just give your life purpose by ultimately continuing to exist, essentially. So what people do is, let's say someone gets themselves into a 9-to-5 job and they don't really like it, and it's not really fulfilling for themselves, and they think that because they are stuck in the 9-to-5 job, that they actually can't fulfill their purpose because they're trapped in the 9-to-5 job. But in reality, the purpose is already there. The purpose, if their goal is to eventually break free from the 9-to-5 grind, that itself is the purpose. And so what people do is people seek things that are external to themselves to bring in fulfillment, and because of that, they idealize the perfect ideal of what a life of purpose really is. But in reality, their life is always purposeful. As long as you continue to live as a human being, there is purpose to your life. And so essentially, the goal is not to seek something external to yourself, bring a sense of fulfillment, but essentially to find a sense of fulfillment within your own continuous existence. That is the purpose of life. That is finding your life's purpose. And so if you're stuck in the 9-to-5 grind and you don't like it and you want to get out, you want to break free of the matrix, so to speak, You know, the thing that's holding you back from fulfilling your life's mission and purpose is not the 9 to 5 itself. It's essentially you just deciding to feel like you're trapped because you're in the 9 to 5. That is what's holding you back from fulfilling your life's mission and purpose. That's the problem. The problem is not your 9 to 5 job. And so that is essentially one of the many paradoxes of life. It's like we oftentimes just trap ourselves in our own emotions because we think that because obstacles get in our way that we can't live a life that's truly meaningful and truly worthwhile for us to live. But in reality, it's actually the opposite. It's us thinking that's holding us back the most, and that's what I went over in one of my other videos. But essentially, what I personally believe is that either there's the individual there's three types of individuals. The first individual is essentially stuck in the 9 to 5 job, but that's all they think there is to life. They literally think that there is nothing else to life than just clocking in, paying the bills, and watching Netflix in the evening, and doing that repeatedly 6 days a week, and then relaxing on Sundays. That's like the basic individual that just thinks that there's nothing else to life besides just working the basic 9 to 5. So that's individual 1. Now there's individual 2 that is also stuck in the 9 to 5, but they know that there's so much more to life, but they feel like they're trapped because they're in the 9 to 5 job. And so they don't feel like there's any way out for themselves. They feel like that's all there is for them, and they don't think they can essentially achieve something greater because they're stuck in the 9 to 5. They feel like they're paralyzed because they're stuck in the 9 to 5 job. And then there's individual number 3. This individual has a deep sense of purpose, and not like they're seeking out a sense of purpose, but they know a sense of purpose that comes from within themselves, and they know what they're capable of. And so they continuously strive to find a way to achieve a life of freedom from the 9 to 5 job, from the 9 to 5 grind. So this individual will attain true joy and happiness in their life because they know and believe in themselves, and they don't allow external circumstances to paralyze them and make them victims of circumstance and make them weak. They take strength from within themselves, from within their own heart and soul. And they seek a life of greatness constantly. That's all they think about, is achieving a life of greatness, a life of purpose, and a life of meaning. They don't seek external things to fulfill themselves. They're not super dependent upon external things to give them joy and happiness in life. They know that ultimately the best things in life can ultimately come from within themselves. And so they actually, in the long run, they're the ones that achieve supreme greatness. They're the ones that become extremely successful. They are the ones that are leaders of society because they make this internal decision to choose a life of greatness. And so that's essentially the point of this video, is that, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we are self-manifesting human beings on a quantum reality. And so we need to choose to align ourselves with the highest way of life, which is in alignment with our highest purpose and our highest values. And that's being true to ourselves and not necessarily dependent upon an external religion or anything of that nature, but a life of true dedication to the greatest good, which is ultimately service to God. And And so that's what I believe that everyone should individually seek out for themselves. This is why so many people lack fulfillment and happiness within society, because they don't seek out this greatness for themselves, and they're not able to find a sense of deep mission and purpose, because they lack fulfillment that comes from within. Essentially, what you need to do as an individual is you need to essentially align yourself wholeheartedly with your goal. So your mind has to be completely 100% focused on the goal that you're seeking. And you have to not be swayed by external things that happen to you. So you can't be overly happy about achieving a whole bunch of money, or you can't be overly sad about just basic things that happen to you, that like basic just trifles that you have to go through on a regular basis. I know your kids are screaming all the time, or you have bills to pay that you can barely afford, or something like that. You can't be overly upset about just like the basic difficulties of human life, and you also can't be overly obsessed with material goals or some type of other external goal that's not essentially spiritual. You have to have your mind and your heart in synchronicity with one another, and your mind has to be solely focused on the goal, on achieving the goal. And so this is essentially how you bring yourself into alignment with that goal. There's a resonance between the heart and mind, and you slowly bring yourself into that reality where you are achieving that goal. You bring yourself into that reality, not you worrying or obsessing about something, but you bring yourself into that reality by solely focusing your mind on that reality which you wish to achieve. That is your goal. And so this is a concept that comes from the book Reality Transurfing, written by Vadim Zeland. It's a really famous spiritual book that I've read and I really enjoy. So that's essentially my message to you guys who are watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more, and catch me in the next one. Peace out.